Never a dull moment. Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order.
Thank you.
First thing is approval of the minutes
I vote we approve the minutes
of,
the 3 meetings.
A second.
okay. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is additions to the agenda. Have 2. One is Cornwall Association presentation.
Yep.
Second is an executive session at the end of the meeting on cybersecurity. So then we'll have the Cornwall Association at the start of the meeting, as we have several
Okay.
people here, unless they want to sit through it, hear everything, although there is excitement. I'll make a motion to add those 2 things. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Communications. Any communications? We have Kate Fraggang here to tell us about her adventures with Sustainable Connecticut.
Adventures to Foxwoods?
Your adventures to Foxwoods. You didn't lose any money, did you?
No, well, anyway, I did. I don't have the picture here because Joyce gave it to me, but
Right.
there were. Well, anyway, this is the plaque that we
Oh, how
got.
cool.
We got a plaque, and of course, it has spaces for upcoming adventures with Cornwall. So there it is. But I wanted to also fill that out a little bit. I wanted to thank the selectmen and the town of Cornwall for all of their work in participating in actions to develop our sustainability and for getting that plaque. Connecticut has 169 towns, and of them 92 are registered for the Sustainable CT program through the Connecticut Council of Municipalities. 47 are certified, representing almost 1,300 actions towards a strong, sustainable network of communities, and now we are 2 at a bronze level. Ta-da! In our town, we were rewarded for our emphasis on local economy with our farm designation map and business directory from economic development. Also, our farmers market, supporting your neighbor, strengthen your economy campaign spearheaded by Bianca Griggs. And for the Cornwall Co-op, highlighting the Ridgeway Family Farm and the Cornwall Co-op calendar. We were rewarded for our National Resources Stewardship, including the Natural Resources Inventory project and contributions to the POCD by the Conservation Commission, also the Ben project monitored by Karen Nelson, and the Invasive Species Program by Deb Bennett. I'm doing this because I want you to know this is not just me. This is really such a town involvement. And so I think these names are really important to mention. Our cultural vitality was highlighted by the opening the internet links like the CT Visit by the Conservation Trust, by theater productions highlighting environmental issues by Leslie Elias and the Grumbling Griffins, by the Fund for Excellence programs at CCC with Catherine Taji and Amy Deniergard, and more, by many communication venues provided by the Cornwall Chronicle, June Cutler, the staff, the editors, the writers, and the town event videos by Richard Griggs. We accomplished the Plan of Conservation Development spearheaded by Dave Colbert, facilitated by possibly hundreds of people. P&Z also facilitated farm-friendly practices with the Right to Farm ordinance, while the Conservation Trust and Barton Jones led support with a farm forum. In the school and library, Trish Collins and the Bennetts have been supporting gardening and landscaping techniques. We look forward to a complete streets program to develop our transportation possibilities. Rick Lynn and Deb Bennett are to be commended on that initiative. And of course, our shared bus with Goshen was also a noted improvement. Cornwall has an ASHRAE level municipal energy plan and an EPA portfolio manager to be used by the town staff to assist in future efficiency improvements that I contributed. Strategic public services to promote sustainability have been the Green Fair by the Cornwall Association, Art of the Dump by the Jacobsons, Richard Griggs, and many others, the air quality monitoring by Clean Air Action and myself, and the Green Up event by Casey Cook and Gary Steincole. Our quest for healthy housing profile has been facilitated, submitting inventory workshops by our town staff, Vera Deneen and Joyce Hart, and in order to refine the housing data profile issued by the Partnership for Strong Communities, Jocelyn Ayer of the Northwest Conservation District Council of Governments and our Housing Corporation continue this quest. In order to achieve greater equity among the Cornwalls, the Conservation Commission, particularly Pat Mulberry and Margie Pinnell, held a series of forums to capture values in the community as to how to best preserve our natural resources. And as you know, this list captures only a partial view of what goes on in this town. The generosity among individuals is no less than astounding, which indicates that more assembly and cooperation could improve our resiliency and prosperity even more, perhaps even for a silver award in 2022. So, carry on, Cornwall, and congratulations. I want to also mention that the next step for Sustainable CT will, there were 10 categories. We've completed something in each category to get this. But now I think it's time to really hone in on 3 serious projects. And so that will be the next proposal. And not only that, don't forget that there is funding available now, matching funding for any endeavor, not only our organizations or our commissions, but individuals can apply for. So that's vitalizing. That's something we can work with. Okay, thank you for taking the time.
Okay, thank you, Kate.
And I'll submit this letter to.
Oh, thanks. Great. So, next on our agenda is hire an administrative assistant. Viewers at home might have noticed that Joyce is not taking the minutes tonight, not because she's finished with the Board of Selectmen quite yet, but she is working on a on the ambulance at a chimney fire tonight in town, which is luckily not serious, but it takes time to deal with these crises when they come up inconveniently. So we're lucky to have tonight Jonathan Berry, who the board has hired to become our new clerk and administrative assistant. We did interview several very good candidates, but picked Jonathan because of his skill set and his commitment to the town. His family has roots in our rocky soil that go back several generations, and so he knows the town well and has I think a lot of things to bring, not just to the board, but to the community as a whole. So he will formally start here. The first day be the 16th in the office. And then I would like to have some sort of we'll have a little formal handing over of the pen ceremony at our next meeting. And if Joyce comes tonight, if you're willing, Jonathan, maybe you could just continue, because she's had a long day of not just in the office, but this is her second call of the day on the ambulance.
No problem.
So anyway, we can do that, and we've had a good time transitioning. Jonathan spent a lot of time meeting the other town officials here in the office. We're going to the Council of Governments together tomorrow. There's a full agenda there on local issues, and there's a bunch of other meetings that he will be attending to get up to speed on what's going on in our town. So again, we're very glad to have him here. Didn't quite think he was starting tonight, but there we go. So you never know what's going to happen next year some days. So again, thank you, Jonathan, and it was a unanimous choice, and we're very glad to have you here in the office working on all the things we have to do. We're also pleased to announce that the selectmen have voted to hire Ted Cheney as for the highway department as a maintainer. Ted is also someone with experience in town, having grown up here. Currently he is working plowing snow in Alaska, where they have quite a bit more snow than we have here right now, but he hopes to make the journey back here with his young family and be on the job in February. So again, we're very glad to have Ted be joining our corps there at the highway department, and again had some excellent candidates, and are very glad that to have Ted coming back to town and helping out there. So again, two good hires, and I think both will work out well. And thank the other selectmen for spent a couple nights going through all these things, but we think we came out with some very good people joining the town. So anyway, welcome again, Jonathan. And next is Marina. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I jumped right into that, but I wanted to explain why Joyce is not taking the notes. So next is a presentation from the Cornwall Association on mailing lists.
So over
And this is Gary Stein.
Gary Steinhold, President of the Cornwall Association. Let me go over that.
Sure.
So over the last year, the Cornwall Association received at least 2 requests from other community organizations, all not-for-profits, to share our database. That led us to reflect on the idea that there is not one robust, comprehensive Cornwall database, and that the Cornwall Association might be the perfect organization to lead the initiative to bring the town together and the organizations towards creating that. So we put a proposal together asking for the support of the Board of Selectmen for this idea to reach out to other town organizations and start that process. We have no set agenda, we have no definitive goal, but the first idea is to bring the groups together to see what they would consider participating and sharing.
And Gary, I think you already have together, how many names on that email list?
Upwards of 500.
Approximately 500.
Casey Cook, who's Secretary of the Board of the Cornwall Association, has worked diligently for months culling our old database, updating it with publicly available information, and we have about 500, and we believe that is the most robust list within all of the Cornwall organizations. The others we've talked to have said some of them still use snail mail, some don't even have a database, and it really brought up the idea that working together will be efficient and effective for the benefit of the whole town.
And the people on your list are willing to be on a list?
We haven't, that's going to be part of the discussion, which would be sending it out and saying, okay, are you interested in participating? Are you interested in receiving messages from?
Great.
Yeah, there is no set agenda other than trying to come up with something that is going to be for the benefit of all.
Thank you.
So this would be a voluntary effort for Cornwall nonprofit organizations to have a joint electronic mailing list for their solicitations is the primary thing?
No, it's a joint effort to create a database of home addresses and email addresses undefined as to what the limitations of their use will be. So it's,
Okay.
as some have come and said, oh, you're looking for a donor database. No, we're looking for a database. And how it is used will be defined as we go forward. We don't, I keep saying we don't have a preset agenda, hoping that this will be for the benefit. Because we've seen and spoken with other organizations who do their own, and they're spending time, and some of them are actually spending money, and it's recreating the same wheel over and over again. and could even be for the advantage of the entire town, you know, the BOS as well.
Good. So,
Well, I think that segues nicely to the next item on the agenda.
so we should probably deal with this first. So I think this is fine as long as it's voluntary, both on an organizational and personal level. I think it's a fine idea. Any other thoughts?
I love the idea.
Right, good. Okay, so then next is we have a townwide email by Marina.
Okay, so like I said, this is a good segue. So basically my goal is to create a subscriber-based email system that is managed and maintained by the Board of Selectmen, and we can get into that later on, who's really in charge. I'm assuming me for the beginning of the project, but I think, you know, one of the great things about hiring Jonathan is that he's totally apt and able to take something like this on, which is great. And my thought process behind this is to have a newsletter, and we can determine how many times a month is appropriate for a town like Cornwall. I'm basing this off of an example in Washington Depot, Washington, Connecticut. They send out a newsletter every Friday evening. It's usually, you know, what's going on in town. If there's a committee that has something pressing going on and they want to send out a bullet point to their constituents, they'll, you know, email the Board of Selectmen and say, can you add this? And sometimes it's from the Board of Selectmen. They're dealing with, you know, I think the last one was a community center, and they wanted input from their constituents. But oftentimes it's kind of just fun and lighthearted, and it's, you know, events that are happening in town. So it's a nice crossover between getting information out to your constituents, but also promoting local businesses, local individuals who might be doing something interesting. So you can, you know, the content can be really fun and really beneficial. You know, if there's a committee that doesn't have enough volunteers, that can be a subject matter.
Is it okay with you, Marina, if I let them look at this?
Absolutely, yeah. And actually, you
Pass
can
this around.
pass this around as well. This is sort of a little proposal I made. And so I'm suggesting the platform of MailChimp to begin with, because MailChimp is actually free if you have 2,000 subscribers or less. I believe that for a while we will basically be under that.
I would think that.
I think so.
I would hope we would.
Unless something amazing happens. But no, I think that we're going to be under that for a long time. And then in my proposal, you'll see the price increases as the subscribers go up. But I don't think we have to deal with that for a while. From platform standpoint, it's really easy to use. Jonathan, I think, feels comfortable using that. I do as well. I can teach him or whatever. So if this is something that we all, you know, are willing to do, I think a couple of points is that we're going to have to probably use the Cornwall selectman and optonline.com, because we had touched on this a little bit, but I don't really want to create a whole new email address for this. We can, but if you're okay with using the official selectman email address for this type of thing, I think that's the most logical step forward. But of course, if that's not something you want to deal with the responses, we can look into that.
Yeah, I think one thing we've thought about, this is like a one-way communication. It's not necessarily, it's not a chat room. We're not checking this every
Correct.
half an hour to see what's
Right.
happening. And I think one thing we thought of is to talk to our IT consultant person to make sure this is compatible with what we've got.
Yeah, and for the most part it will be, and if it comes to the point where we want to do like an info at selectman. I don't know, we can figure something out in terms of the actual email address.
Right.
But it won't be like what the Google Groups is, which exists now, which is great for Cornwall, but that's more of a conversation piece. This is much more of an official stream of communication from the Board of Selectmen to the town, which I think we need as a town, because I think information flow, I think the generations are changing, and the Cornwall Chronicle is wonderful, and I hope it sustains forever, but I do think it's kind of nice to have something that's a little bit more in real time. So, and we can even, use that for emergency situations as well. So the next steps would be talking to our IT department, figuring out what email address to use, and then I think I could work with Jonathan. I can take this as a responsibility to, send out an email to the Google Groups platform and, say, hey, this is what's going on, this is how you can subscribe, and this is volunteer based. So if you don't want these emails, you don't have to have them. And then another step would be also reaching out to all the committee chairs and seeing how they would want to use this for their purposes. So really opening the lines of communication, saying, hey, this newsletter is here. If you want to use it, you can use it. And then, I would certainly be happy to work with you guys on that level too, because if we know that people are subscribing to this newsletter, we know that those email addresses and those people want to be contacted. So that may help you with your greater plan of creating this database. Which
I think there's a great deal of synergy that could be had here. We can help one another, and I absolutely am thrilled with the idea of having the town be able to reach all of us, not only in an emergency, but with regular communication, especially as things develop faster than our current method of transmitting data, the Chronicle, which I love. It's just like once a month.
And not everyone's on social media, and so that's this is a middle ground, I think. I think I'm of the generation that's sort of on social media all the time and can get the real-time update on Facebook, but not everyone does that, and I also think this is a really good way of controlling like the facts and things that we really want to get out to our people.
One last point, if I may. The current database that we maintain has both email addresses and snail mail addresses.
Great.
We know there's a contingent in town that still prefers the old-fashioned, regular hard copy mail, and that's something we'd be happy to share with the town, which I'm sure already has it. But as I'm sure you already know that MailChimp has that capability of both the email and the snail mail, depending on how you want to use it.
Yeah, and I think that could be something we could explore too. If, maybe the snail mail goes not as often as the digital or whatever. These are all things that I think we're gonna develop and see what makes the most sense and what's the most efficient way to proceed.
Okay, good. So I would make a motion then that Marina and Jonathan proceed on this, and we'll keep this as a agenda item because it probably will take a bit to develop and check out, and we want to do it properly and have a good rollout of this so we don't so it goes well.
Great.
Good. So is there a second to that?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Jonathan, you willing to be drafted?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
It was. I remember it being mentioned during the interview as something that
Yes, it did come up in the interview.
So
Great.
definitely.
Thank you.
All right.
Is there a vote?
Yeah, we're still just,
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. In lime green, come Joyce. Dun, 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 dun. That's it. So then I'd make a motion before Joyce transforms totally that she be allowed to go home and have dinner and take the night off. What do you think?
Yes.
As long as you promise to come back next week. And
I
then
second
Jonathan
it.
has stepped right in and,
And
do you have any updates for us?
No.
Things that,
I have an update for you, Joyce.
Yeah.
Gary and Casey have left you a present on your desk. Yes. They didn't have time to write a note, so I wanted to make that announcement. That's in honor of your service.
Oh, lovely.
You don't need my minutes.
Couple pretzels.
Yeah, we
If we opened them here, we'd eat them up.
Don't ever give that to me, please. I'll eat the whole thing. I don't buy things
I have a
like that in
sweet
my
tooth,
house.
like color. So.
Good. Tremendous sustainable.
Might come in handy.
wanted to, the January Chronicle, I really didn't appreciate that letter to the editor that said that the selectmen weren't receiving emails when it came to CWL selectmen. I want you to know when it says, Dear Board of Selectmen, Board of Selectmen, Board, they're always forwarded to you and to Priscilla and Richard and Casey, you know, they do get forwarded. But the letter made it sound like you never get them, only Gordon sees them. But I do forward them to you, so I want you to know.
We know. Thank you.
Yes.
And all that. It does go through.
We know that not everything in the news is correct.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, Joyce.
Enjoy your
It's
pretzels.
Enjoy your pretzels.
I'll throw it away.
That's good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
I'll see you.
See you soon.
Good night.
Okay, item 4.
Item 4, so keep us up to date. There is a free information session coming up on the 21st in the town of Warren. I think it's good to share. We sponsored such events here, and it's good to share these with other towns and go to nearby towns when they're offered. So I'm going to make an effort to get, especially the new town officials, encourage them to come, because especially in the digital age, rules and regulations as far as public documents, public meetings, have real legal requirements, and people need to know what the laws are and their practical application. So I think we'll go to that, or...
So does that mean that we're going to select a new date for the
So our
selectmen's
next thing
meeting?
would be that we would move our meeting from being a regular meeting on the 21st to be a special meeting on the 22nd. if
Okay.
that works.
22nd
So that
at
would be the following
7:30.
night, which would
Yep.
be Wednesday. And there again, if anybody has things to add to that agenda, because that'll be a special meeting, on a regular meeting we can't add things, because it's not a regular meeting, but we definitely put things like the highway or the email on there, and we'll probably start then getting into some of our budget talk, and I'm probably going to be meeting with Jim Bannicky, the foreman of the highway department, in between now and then, so we'll have that be part of our meeting, is sitting down, and again it gives the board a chance to review highway operations for the past year and then in the coming year, and it, you know, it's a big part of our job. So anyway, so why don't we then make a, I'll make a motion to have a special, to cancel our regular meeting on the 21st.
On the 21st.
On the 21st, the regular meeting, we'll cancel that one and have a special meeting on Wednesday the 22nd at 7:30 p.m. here.
Good. Thank you.
So, is there a second to that motion?
Second that.
Any discussion? Everybody good? All those in favor?
Aye.
So, then next is, I've talked to Maggie Cooley and some of the people at the land use office about having a housing forum in the spring of 2020, because that is one of our top goals, and is also interesting to note is the more that the housing issue is huge, not just for the people we just hired, but people moving in with, there's a list of people that would like to move to town, have plenty to offer to the town, but it's, the housing market's real tight. So the Housing Corporation is working on a couple initiatives, and the Zoning Commission is working on a couple of initiatives. There were, and so I think we can pull together a very timely program for the spring. So, no details yet, but I can see there's a bunch of different topics that could be covered. New ways of doing things, new initiatives, particular projects, financing, things.
What does this look like, the forum? Is it
Forum, we'll just have some presenters probably. We'll probably have it videotaped. In a lot of ways, it's getting some of the people that are working on things to get together to collaborate with a presentation. But there are specific things the Housing Corporation is doing as far as the parcel program. There's some particular regulation changes the Zoning Commission is thinking about doing that would open up housing opportunities. And there are even some financing opportunities. The people from the National Land Bank have talked about what they've done in other communities to help with down payments.
Okay.
So there's, some of it's pretty nuts and bolts about what practical steps we could take with some of the responsible private and public organizations. So, and again, it may spark interest, it may spark some new ideas, again, when you open things up, and of course it would be an opportunity for public participation and ideas. There's a lot of good ideas out there now about new construction techniques, some other landowning options and things that we hope to bring to that. And if we can we might even bring in somebody who's been particularly successful, or somebody that can illustrate some new, smaller house ideas, construction things that have worked in other towns. We try to pull in somebody that might be able to spark some of the discussion.
Yeah, I think that'd be great, because I think from nationwide, I think there's a lot of interesting things going on from not just this part of the country, but throughout. So it'd kind of be cool to pull in, you know, as much as we can.
There's a lot of innovation going on to meet the need for, employee housing. Google is, a lot of these companies, they're having to put millions and millions of dollars into housing for their workforces out west. And wherever and all, just listening to a program tonight about what's going on in New York State and trying to keep a young, vibrant population in New York. Same story. And there's some sort of innovative things that are going on. So again, I think we'll try to get something that will be interesting. So I just want to put that
on. Is Maggie going to chair that, or?
I think I probably do that, as she is a little more reticent in public meetings than I am. But I think I can certainly
do you have a date in mind?
No, don't have a date yet, but probably post snow. So I'm thinking probably April, if I had to guess, would be a good time.
Okay.
And should we forward you anything interesting that we find?
Yeah, if you know people that are doing interesting things, that would be good. There is a regional housing group that they've done some new programs, new buildings that we've seen down in Kent and Norfolk. So some of those might apply here.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. So then we have so then we have electric vehicle charging station information is forwarded to the selectmen, something I got out of the Northwest COG, which again, there is interest in establishing electric vehicle charging stations. There was some grants available. There are some towns that have them, that are replacing them, and I think it would be an interesting topic that might draw people to town. My thought especially is maybe we could try to get something going in West Cornwall as an electric vehicle charging station. I think the closest ones are Salisbury and Kent.
I think there's
But
one
those
in
are
North
jet-
Canaan too.
North Canaan has one. Some of those are Tesla specific. Good night, thank you.
Thank you.
But again, it'd be a long-term project, and we'd have to think about who would run it and who would pay the electric bill and a few other things. But again, I think I think a lot of these towns are looking at this as the future of transportation. And so it'd be good to bring it back. Once upon a time, the town of Cornwall had over 10 gas stations. We're down to 0.
When was that?
You look in the Cornwall pictures book,
will,
in the
yeah.
30s and 40s, there were 4 or 5 just on Route 7. Many more garages, repair shops, gas stations. There were 2 and anyway, you can go
I'll
over,
look
but there
at
was,
it.
there was a bunch. And if this is the way of the future, it might be good to be on the map. So again, it's another, I think, a good innovative idea that we can pursue with our fellow towns.
I'm happy to revisit.
Yeah. So let's see. So that's all I had, other than public comment, bill payment, and we have an executive session at the end. So, any questions, public comments, things?
I have a question. The Freedom of Information Session,
Yes.
what is that?
So that is, there's a freedom of information law in the state that says you can only, if you are a public agency or commission, you can only do your business in public. So you have to post your meetings, you have to take minutes of the meetings, the minutes have to be available for public scrutiny in a certain amount of time. If somebody wants to see public records, like most of the records in this office are accessible to people and people have a right to see them, they can ask for them and we have to provide them in a certain amount of time. So it's a pretty important law, and there's a whole agency that deals with this issue of sometimes people complain that people had an illegal meeting, that somebody, the boards met in private and they didn't notice it right, or they didn't follow the meetings right, or
And you
whatever.
can go to this meeting if you want, Katie. It's Tuesday, January 21st at 7 p.m. and it's at the Warren Town Hall. And a man named Tom Hennick from the Freedom of Information Commission will be presenting it. But it's open to the whole public. I mean, anyone that wants to go is invited.
Yeah. So, any other questions? Hard questions from the press?
Do you know how to spell the new fellow in the highway department, how to spell his name?
C-H-E-N-E-Y.
Yeah, Ted.
Edward?
I'm not sure. I think it's just Ted.
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 yeah.
Cheney.
I think it's actually Theodore.
Theodore
But
by
don't put
Ted.
that down, put down Ted.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
he's
think he
pretty
goes by
much
Ted.
he's-
Formal was.
he's pretty much Ted.
I remember
Pretty
Teddy.
much
Yeah.
Ted.
Long
I don't think he would like
That's when he
that.
was younger.
Yeah.
And he's gotten quite large, so I don't think he's Ted.
No.
Yes, so anyway,
Strike that from the.
strike that from the minutes. Yeah, well, big, he's over 6 feet tall, I think. Anyway, all good. Okay, so any other questions? We now pay bills and have our executive session.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.